Welcome back to the Daily Academy at dailyfantasycafe.com. I'm your host, Josh Shepardson. You can follow me on Twitter at bchad50, and I am here to talk to you about GPP strategy today. As we discussed in previous podcasts, Daily Academy, GPPs are guaranteed prize pool games. These are your monstrous payout games, things like the Millionaire Maker at DraftKings and championships for FanDuel and other sites where you just have monstrous prize pools, and as they say, they're guaranteed prize pools. So when you see a six-figure prize pool, you can be sure that 6 or 7 figures, that's what's going to be getting paid out to you, the gamer. If you do finish in the cash, that's what's going to be paid out to gamers. So don't need to delve into that too much, but the strategy for winning these or placing is different than doing so in cash games, because only a small percentage of the GPP field gets paid, and depending on the payout structure, you're going to want to play GPPs a little bit differently. Most offer a very heavily scaled towards finishing very high payout structure. So if you're looking to cash big, you really have to separate yourself from the pack, and these are monstrous fields. So you have to do things that really make you stand out from the crowd. And one way to do so is by embracing variance. You're not looking for safe. You're looking for high ceiling. You're willing to take on boom and bust players. In baseball, this might mean a power hitter with a high strikeout rate that runs the risk of going 0 for 4 with the golden sombrero, but also brings the type of potential for a 2 or 3 home run game. That's what we mean by embracing variance. There's more to it than that. You're looking to make picks that are low percentage owned, so making contrarian picks, so to speak. You're making picks that others aren't that aren't on the radar of other gamers necessarily, and this obviously creates variance, because if you whiff on this player, you are one of very few people who own them on your daily team, and it does set you behind the 8 ball. But when you hit on these players, that's what separates you from the masses. That's what separates you from the pack. It might be, using football as an example, it might be a middle tier back who has a fantastic matchup, but coming off of a few bad weeks. People tend to value recent performance very highly in daily fantasy. So if a player isn't performing well, but you believe that their true talent level is higher than what they've shown lately, or if the matchup is just right, that player is going to be an under-owned player that you can utilize to separate yourself from the herd, basically. So I can't stress this enough. Embracing variance is huge in GPPs. Making picks that go against the grain, contrarian picks, are huge. That's not to say that you should stuff your roster with nothing but picks that go against the grain, but when everybody is taking Peyton Manning as their starting quarterback and loading up on Denver Broncos, maybe mixing in with those Denver Broncos wide receiver from the Jaguars, Marquise Lee, against favorable pass defense, could be that separating factor from you and everyone else who's basically gravitating to the same game. So make these contrarian picks, make them count, they're well researched. If you're making the correct contrarian picks, you are using the correct rationale for doing so, and it goes beyond just low ownership. It's low ownership with favorable variables, and these are the picks that when you look at the top of the standings of the Millionaire Maker, you're going to see a player that has under 10% ownership and goes for 20+ fantasy points. I mean, it's amazing, but it makes sense that you're going to see this consistency from lineup to lineup at the top of the heaps. And the same can be said for daily basketball and daily football. You need these guys that are low owned that separate you from the pack. Most of the GPPs are multiple entry tournaments. So another way that you can maximize your opportunities to win is by getting more teams in. I mean, this makes logical sense, but delving into that a little bit deeper, not just entering multiple lineups, but entering multiple lineups with a greater mix of players. If you are using LaMarcus Aldridge on all of your NBA GPP lineups, yes, you're going to be in a great position if he has an awesome game, but you're also limiting yourself at his position at power forward, and potentially missing out on a big game from someone else, say Anthony Davis, for example. And if you're entering multiple lineups and they've got the same players on them, then you're going to have a greater chance of cashing multiple lineups if you hit, but you're going to have a lesser degree of a lesser chance of having that one home run club because you're not giving yourself exposure to more players. So what this means is you really need to set your goals going into the GPPs. Are you looking to cash multiple lineups? Are you okay with finishing in the middle of the pack with multiple lineups, or are you shooting for the moon? Are you trying to take down some of these GPPs? And one big factor that should play in for you when you're making this decision and when you're setting up your goals is, what is the payout structure? What percentage of people are paid out? What percentage of the prize pool is paid out to the top 10, to the top 15, and what's left for just cashing? And in these bigger tournaments, again, I'll get back to the Millionaire Maker and use that as an example. The payout discrepancy is huge, and it's so heavily tilted towards your top finishers. It typically makes more sense to enter multiple lineups with exposure to a greater mix of your primary and secondary options in those games, because you really should be looking to shoot the moon in those. But it really comes down to the strategy that you're looking to deploy, or the goals you've set. I should say, if you're looking to cash multiple lineups, it's not, in this sense, it's not that much different than setting cash games lineups. You're going to want your staples. You're going to want your guys that you have on multiple rosters, and you're going to want heavy exposure to certain players. But if you're looking to shoot the moon, you're going to want to maybe mix in some different contrarian picks. Again, this gets back to grabbing those low-owned players, because if you hit on just that one and they're mixed in well with some of your other primary and secondary options, you give yourself a greater opportunity to win the GPP. So set your goals clearly and determine what exactly you're looking for. The next topic we're going to talk about in GPP strategy is stacking. Now, stacking is not an ideal strategy for every sport. For instance, in the NBA, you're not looking to grab 5 players from the Chicago Bulls. You're not looking for 5 starters. They cut into one another's production. However, in baseball, it is the lifeblood of GPPs. Many GPPs are won by grabbing the best stack. Now, sites have set rules to curb stacking. FanDuel is more restrictive than DraftKings in this regard, and that you can only own 4 players from the same roster, whereas on DraftKings you can own 6 hitters from the same roster, which gives you greater opportunity to stack. And the reason stacking works in baseball is because you're looking for lineup synergy. Basically, if your leadoff hitter gets on base, not only do they have an opportunity to score a run, but they have an opportunity to provide an RBI for the number 2 hitter. If both get on base, all of a sudden the number 3 hitter has a chance at hitting a 3-run home run and picking up 2 RBI, scoring points for the 2 guys that are on base already, scoring points for themselves. You're looking to basically pile on grabbing guys that directly influence one another. And the players that you're going to be looking to stack are going to be ones that are in in games with Vegas high betting totals. So maybe it's Rockies or a visiting team at Coors Field, or players that go to Chase Field in Arizona. You're looking for players that are in a favorable situation where they're going to score runs in bunches, and you're hoping to clump these guys together in order, who are directly influencing the point scoring of the others around them. So stacking, huge strategy in Major League Baseball, not so much in basketball. You could see some modified stacking of sorts in football, pairing a quarterback with his top receiver, maybe his top receiver and top tight end, maybe his top 2 receivers, because basically you're looking to double up on point scoring. When Tony Romo throws a touchdown pass and you own Des Bryant, you're doubling up on that touchdown, the value of that touchdown. You're getting the passing touchdown, you're getting the receiving touchdown, and you're counting on really shooting for the moon with that combination. The danger of stacking should be pretty obvious, but if you miss on a stack, you're not going to score very highly. If the Rockies run into a Cy Young-like performance from a crummy pitcher at Coors Field, then all these Rockies that you hook together are simply not going to be scoring enough runs, driving in enough runs, and doing enough to cash your teams. But that ties nicely back into the idea of embracing volatility as a GPP player. You need to be willing to take these risks, because when you hit, you really hit, and when you miss, it doesn't matter as much, because there's such a small percentage of the field that gets paid anyways. You're looking to really finish highly, score a ton of points, and not just make the cash, but cash very highly. So stacking really is the ultimate idea of embracing variance and volatility, and it's huge in daily baseball, but it can also be implemented in the NFL as well, namely in the quarterback and his pass catchers scenario. The last thing I'm going to talk about in GPPs, and this basically gets back to needing to finish highly, and that's chasing ceiling. You don't want high floors are nice. They're embraced in cash games though. You're chasing ceiling, and that means that you are willing to roll the dice on a player who could perform poorly, but also has just gigantic upside. You want that Chris Carter type hitter who has a bad batting average but has a ton of power. You want that home run hitting running back who could carry the ball 15 times for 25 yards, but has that game-changing speed that if they hit the hole, they're going to pop off an 80-yard run. They're going to find pay dirt. You might also want some of these vulture backs, for instance, in the NFL. A guy who, yes, they may only carry the ball 4 times, but they're coming in on the 1-yard line, and they could pile up 3 touchdowns in a game. This is the type of thing you need to embrace in GPPs if you're ever going to finish highly. You have to have that uneasy feeling in the pit of your stomach, knowing that, yes, this guy can have a bad game, but trust your research. Know that these players with the high ceiling give you your greatest opportunity to win big, which is ultimately what you're looking for in these GPPs. So this is where grabbing some superstars and maybe mixing in some lower end risky players who are in favorable situations is a great way to chase ceiling. Getting back to baseball, maybe grabbing a platoon hitter who, for instance, Ricky Weeks, faces left-handed pitching, perhaps are at risk of getting lifted for a pinch hitter late in the game. Maybe it's a guy who's a poor defender in baseball who could get lifted for defensive reserve late. You understand that that's the risk, but their price is suppressed as a result of that risk. And if the upside is there, they need to be a player that you are willing to roster if you're going to cash big. In basketball, it could be a player who has a tendency to get in foul trouble, but is great on a per-minute basis. If they are able to stay out of foul trouble, they're going to score you a bunch of points. You know the risk is there that they could get in foul trouble and be glued to the bench for most of the game. But this is the volatility you need to embrace. You need to be comfortable with. You need to understand that is incredibly important for winning these GPPs. The gamers who win these GPPs and finish highly, when you see Yusuf Nurkic played 35 minutes because he stayed out of foul trouble and put up a monstrous scoring effort, it's not just good luck that they had them. The gamers that put him on their roster understand that that was the ceiling. That's what they were paying for. That's the risk that they were willing to take. It's calculated, and it's all about calculated risks in daily fantasy. You need to weigh what you're looking for. You need to determine what you're shooting for, and a big part of that is chasing ceiling. So if you want to finish well in GPPs, and you will, following this advice, you need to chase some ceiling. And basically, that to put a bow on this, in GPPs, you need to be comfortable with being different. You need to be that contrarian and go against the grain. You need to chase players who have high upside but maybe low floors, and you need to embrace volatility. Get down with your bad self and take some chances. Roll the dice, and if you do so, you will find yourself finishing well in GPPs. You will notice that you have maybe some runs of non-cashes, but that one big cash can offset all of it. And that's the idea here with GPPs, is that you need to be willing to lose on occasion to chase that big cash. And the only way to do that is by embracing volatility, taking some chances. GPPs are all about taking chances. Use dailyfantasycafe.com to find out who those best chances are. We cover GPP topics, GPPs, picks by sport. We highlight who some of the top plays are and why you should be making these. And so definitely visit the website. Check out our content daily. We will help you, and be willing to roll that dice, and you will see that the big cashes are there. So until next time, take care and good luck in your games.